Last week we had a cold front come through and drop us all the way down into 35 degrees, so I think it's safe to say that summer is officially over and it's time to do a fall garden tour. Welcome back to Molnar's Garden. Right, so we're gonna start you guys out over here. I got the new garden shirt on that I'm gonna be wearing every single time we're doing a garden tour, so you guys know if you see me in the shirt on camera, we're doing a garden tour day. Anyways, we got the pots up here with all the baby plants that we got that will eventually go into the ground, hopefully. We do have a Mexican cream guava over here. All this stuff essentially is gonna be waiting now at this point until spring to make sure that we don't have any kind of freak cold fronts that come in and drop temperatures down too low and kill them off before they've had time to establish. So they're gonna be holding out till spring, going into the garage when it gets super cold. But for now, we did drop down to 35 degrees, and I wanna mention that I didn't bring any of these in the house for that night. It wasn't supposed to get that cold. Not at all, not anywhere close, but it did drop down about 5-7 degrees more than it should. And so we had things like the soursop right here. This is one that I keep getting told I shouldn't be able to grow out here at all. I tried last winter. I almost got one to survive. It didn't quite work. I had it in the ground, in the wood line, underneath an oak. I don't think it was just deep enough. So we're gonna try again next year, but this one got left in the pot, and anything in a pot always struggles even harder with the cold from what I'm seeing so far. As you can see, it's got a bit of cold damage on the leaves, but even at 35 degrees for a couple hours, this one looks like it's gonna be able to bounce back just fine. I think part of the reason for that was I watered these in really heavily the night before, along with everything else on the property, just to make sure everything else had the best chance for the soil not to freeze. On top of that, I filled these trays up with water to kind of create a little bit of a balancing act and moderate the temperatures maybe around these plants. And as you can see with the Dominican avocados, the jaboticaba, dragon fruit, everything actually looks like it's done pretty well. That should be more cold sensitive. Now, obviously, some of this stuff, like the lemons right here, are stuff that I tried to propagate out and haven't been doing that well. That's a different story. The roses, if you guys remember me trying to do those, well, let's just say it didn't go well. Unfortunately, Joey, our cat, got let out, started getting let outside when we did those. And I'm having issues with the cats and the dogs and the baby all knocking over a lot of the pots that I'm propagating stuff out, and it just doesn't sit right. It's becoming a nightmare. So I'm gonna have to get a table at some point, try and get this to work out much better. Moving on. Guava luckily are looking pretty good. The grass and quite a few other things not so much. Hurricane Ian blew through a few weeks ago and only dropped us about 2 inches of rain, and that kind of seems to be a continuing theme throughout our summer here this year. Now, I haven't lived in Florida for very long, neither has my wife. We're both from the desert, but our understanding is that this was an especially dry year for Florida, and so it'll be interesting to see how this continues out throughout the following years and if stuff actually grows even faster. Here we have our Valkyrie mango that we put in earlier this year. Now this is one of those plants that's not supposed to be able to grow in our area, from what I've been told, like a whole bunch of everything else that we have on the property, and is still growing just fine. This is one that we had a Kerry mango last year that didn't survive our freak cold fronts that dropped us all the way down to 27. Now the 35-degree cold front we just had, this one survived absolutely perfectly fine. The Valkyrie actually held up much better than the Kerry did on its own with similar temperatures last year. So I got high hopes for this one that it'll do well. As you can see, it's still growing, it's putting out new branches. The leaves look absolutely fantastic. The mangoes just thrive off neglect. Absolutely love this plant. Fingers crossed this one will keep going through the winter. Now, some of the other plants over here, not so much of survivors. The sugar apple definitely got hit a lot harder with the cold front. As you can see on the leaves, a lot more signs of cold damage, but it's still hanging on. It's not looking absolutely horrible. The plant will be fine. I've got high hopes for this one. Same with these bananas right here. Now again, I'm not sure what variety these are. I'm starting to have some guesses that they might be Grand Nain bananas, but I'm not exactly sure just yet. We gotta grow these out, let them fruit to see everything, and I'm not quite sure, but we'll figure it out. They are, however, as bad as they look, still throwing out new growth. Bananas do this all the time. Now, I've had some of my neighbors come by and ask me about my bananas because of the fact that everybody else around here seems to think bananas can't grow for some reason. People struggle with their bananas. Some of them have struggled because of the cold, told me that they aren't coming back in the summer after the winter comes through and they die off. Now, one of the things that I found out is a lot of people are telling me that, tend to be growing them in pots. So if you remember me talking about up there earlier, anything in a pot doesn't have as good of insulation around it. The roots are gonna get colder. There's a better chance of that plant dying. Bananas, especially in Florida, don't put them in a pot. Throw those things in the ground. They will be much happier for it. Load them up with a bunch of mulch. And if they do get cold damage like this, just cut off the dead parts. The new parts will start to grow back and you'll have a plant come spring, no worries. So across the way from those plants that had the cold damage, we have our other group of plants that I really want to show you guys today. We have our blue java. This is Mama, if you guys remember on the channel. She's the one that has been here, our biggest from the get-go on the property. We originally brought in 3 blue javas. This is one of our first. She is by far our biggest and has put out most of our pups that we have been propagating from this year. This is actually one of those pups. Now, with banana plants, there's a key to how I'm setting these up. There's a rule of 3. What I'm doing is I have my first plant. This is the biggest one. This is the one that I'm gonna grow out to fruit. The following year, because I put it in last year, this year I've got my second one that I'm leaving on. Every other pup I take off. Next year I'll go ahead and I'll keep on a 3rd pup. That way every year a banana fruits, I cut back the stalk. The next year another one's ready to fruit, cut back the stalk, and it just keeps going. So that way off one banana plant I've got it staggered to have bananas every single year. Now, as you can probably see on Mama on her upper leaves, she does have a bit of cold damage. She is probably the only blue java that really has any cold damage. They don't really get very much of it. Unfortunately, she does. I'm thinking that has something to do with the area. We'll get to that in a second because the dwarf Cavendish next to Mama also has quite a bit of cold damage. Now the Cavendish bananas that I'm seeing on the property, whether that's our double Mahoy that we'll get to in a minute along with the Truly Tinies up closer to the house, all of the Cavendish style or variety type, whatever, all the Cavendish similar bananas, some type of variation of Cavendish, all have much more cold damage than any of our other bananas, and that seems to be a theme. But unfortunately, Mama also has some cold damage. So I have a thought here on why that might be, and that seems to be this area down here in the property. If you look over here, all of the major cold damage plants tend to be in the same type of bowl area where we have this low point on the property with nothing else really around it. So I'm thinking that that is really our most cold sensitive area. We have a lot of woods, a lot of high oak and stuff that help insulate the plants on the other spots of the property except here. And so my thought there is that we need to start working immediately on the pond for this property in this natural kind of bowl area to help regulate the temperature for all the other plants, similar to how we saw with the trays up there with those avocado and everything else. So do at this moment stop whatever you're doing, please hit that like button and subscribe, turn notifications on so that we can afford to do that pond process and build as fast as possible. Do that right now. So right here below me, we got our pineapple doing actually pretty well in some lower light conditions, even through that cold front. Absolutely looks fantastic, no signs of cold damage. And then if you go ahead and take a look up right above it, our papaya are really doing well. Now this is one of those that I keep getting told should not be growing here. I did have this one die back last year during the worst cold front. We dropped down to 27 degrees at least 3 nights that year. And this one got cut back from a single stalk and came back as 2 stalks, now fruiting up. Hopefully everything will ripen up soon and we'll actually get to try some ripe, fresh papayas right here on the property. Olivia and I, neither of us have had any straight out of the yard. We've only had grocery store, and that's as best as we've had. So I'm really excited to see how these taste because the smell on them, oh, it's just intoxicating. I love it. Now we have our Yehuda loquat. Now I've been told this is the best tasting variety of loquat there is. I do have some other loquat that I've grown out from seedlings that I don't know the variety on. So it'll be interesting to see how the comparison is on them. But this one I'm very excited about, has been starting to throw out these flower clusters. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will go absolutely perfect and we'll have some loquat later on this year. Because having all these trees first year on the property, there's not a lot of fruit we've gotten to eat, and we're all dying to get our hands on some. Revan, our son, all he eats is fruit, and it costs us a fortune to have to buy it instead of growing it. So hopefully soon we'll get some fruit, hopefully. Ice cream bed over here with ice cream bananas, ice cream beans, some angel trumpet, another angel trumpet over here are all really starting to come together very well. The angel trumpet just recently went in, have started to establish and are starting to grow. So we're very excited to get those to flower and see if they can actually attract, I've heard they can, some bats for the property, because bats, as you might know, actually help lower the population of mosquitoes. And in Florida, mosquitoes are a big problem. We don't like them, we want them gone. So hopefully we can get some more bats on the property with those angel trumpet. Anyways, let's bring you back here and check out some of the stuff we've been doing with our chickens. We put in a new park for it. So if you missed that video, check the link out right here where we put in Paul's Park. Come on back with me and we'll check it out and see how everybody's enjoying it so far. Of course, none of them want to come out while we're doing a tour and be out in the run. I gotta lure them out right now. Come on, girls. And you two boys. Yeah, you see you fluffing up your feathers. So if you're wondering what all the garbage is in the run, I might have mentioned this before if you follow us, but essentially we've got a bunch of pots that were out here to begin with, and we're probably filled with spiders, and I don't do spiders, so I left them in here for the chickens to pick through. Today was trash day, so the pots are coming out tomorrow and going into the trash now that I've got some room cleared out for them to go. And the chickens got to have their little snack time with all the spiders and do their job.
Ooh, that's good.
So we do have 2 roosters, 11 hens. 6 of those 11 hens are now laying, giving us 6 eggs a day. At this point, it's pretty actually convenient with everything going up on pricing. The eggs came in at the perfect time to where we have more than we know what to do with at this point. We're giving away quite a bit to our neighbors and our family that followed us out here from Utah. You guys might remember my parents did that. And so we're able to give eggs around and share all of that, which is really kind of cool. The extra space, the chickens definitely enjoy it. My dad loves having this park here now named after him and getting to have a space where he can come hang out with the chickens anytime he's over here. So I could spend all day out here with the chickens, but we probably shouldn't. You guys might get bored with that video, so let's go move on to something else. Back here in the kitchen garden area, a lot of the beds haven't gone as great. We've been getting ready to turn them over on some of them are starting to actually grow some stuff. The watermelon bed that we had right here throughout the summer didn't do well. Everything kept getting rotted out. And so I was getting ready to turn it over because I found out that watermelon I grew at the wrong time of the year. It's a problem that I've had with Florida. I keep finding out that some of the stuff that I'm used to thinking you should grow, being from San Diego and then Utah most of my life, bouncing back and forth between the two, do not grow here in Florida. Apparently, with the wet season, it's just, no, don't do watermelon, don't do cantaloupe, don't do it. Now, the reason I say, now, I was getting ready to pull out this whole bed of watermelon when I realized that now that we've stopped getting so much rain, look what happened. We have watermelon. So this one's actually doing okay. It's not getting rotted out. This is a yellow flesh variety. I think it's Moon and Stars is the one.
A little bit?
So, but this is a yellow fleshed variety. I think this is Moon and Stars on the variety. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this keep growing out and see if I can get more watermelon out of this bed. I'm gonna start coming through here and cleaning these beds up, turning the other ones over. We are getting some things though, like lettuce. It didn't come out as clean as the bed as I planted it to be, so I'm gonna have to move some things around. I did have other things like tomatoes and leeks that went into that bed originally that didn't come up. But over here is the most successful bed at the moment. This is actually our corn bed. We've got corn. It's a blue corn variety on this one. We've got some beans and some pumpkin. Not everything has done fantastic, but if you guys remember our other garden tour videos from earlier this year, we had absolutely nothing growing in this bed. This bed itself was the bane of my existence. I couldn't get anything to grow in this bed, damn near even sunflowers. I was even struggling with that. So the fact that I was able to come back, reset this bed, and even get this much corn coming up, I'm pretty thrilled with that. It's a good sign of progress, and I'm hoping that as we keep going, it'll just keep getting better and better. Aside from hornworm caterpillars in my kitchen garden, I've had one other major pest issue all year long, and that's these little bird poop looking caterpillars that have been taking over my citrus like crazy. You see on this Valencia orange that there's a lot of leaves that are gone, and that's because these caterpillars just keep attacking every single one of my citrus, and it's only my citrus. I keep throwing them in with the chickens. Hopefully the chickens eat them. I'm not quite sure because they do look like poop and they smell awful. So I'm not quite sure, but we have some other plants that have come into this front area. We're still working on getting them established, getting everything filled in up here. We've put in 2 pomegranates. We've got an Arbequina olive right here. Right there, we've got a cherry of the Rio Grande. We've got the hibiscus along the bed back there with some angel trumpet in front, getting in next to the queen palms, the birds of paradise. Everything has been growing a lot better this far into the year. This year, everything is looking a whole lot better at this point than it was last year. It's really been a whole lot more progress. We weren't on YouTube really at this point last year when we first got on the property. I don't think we started YouTube until about February or March last year when we actually registered the property for a business here. So we can start getting going with trying to sell food and stuff to the local population. Once that gets going and we have more stuff, then we know what to eat. We're trying to get to that point. Hopefully we'll get there soon. That's the whole goal with this, is to be able to feed ourselves and spread a little love around to the people of our local community, because you never know what's going on at the grocery stores these days. I mean, that's what drove us to this point. So anyways, moving on. This Arbequina olive that I have right here on the mirrored side of the driveway is absolutely my #1 champion plant. If you saw a couple of our other videos, you might know the backstory to this one. Essentially, somebody drove onto our property and lined their truck up, purposefully trying to mow down as many plants as they could, and this olive was one of those plants. I had to push them off the property with a firearm, so that's your lesson for you, you dumbass. Don't come onto my property, mess around, find out. My plant, just like me, just like my family, we can get knocked down, we'll come back up stronger than ever. This olive is absolutely doing fantastic. I'm actually quite surprised that this one bounced back, in all honesty. I'm guessing it had to do with the fact that maybe because it's a smaller olive, it was able to be a little bit more flexible with the weight of the truck. And so with me coming back out, finding it immediately, propping it back up and resetting it in the ground, I was able to save it. As you can see behind me, there's actually another banana plant. It's a double Mahoy. That one also got mowed down. Same thing, bounce right back. We just get back up at this property. Essentially, that brings us back around to this side of the property, coming full circle. We've come to our next area that's kind of a new spot where we're gonna begin some other projects as well. This is going to be the playground area for our son, Revan, who is about to turn 2, and he definitely needs some stuff to climb on to give us a little break from having to chase him around, because I swear all that kid does is run. He'll do circuits on his little trampoline that we have for him. He doesn't even jump on it. He just runs up to it, gets up on it, gets down, runs a lap, and then runs back like he's doing circuit training. I don't know how this kid figured it out, but I mean, his dad's a vet, so I guess. There you go. But we're gonna turn this into a playground for the kid. So that's one of the projects coming. If you wanna see that, definitely, again, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on so you can see those videos coming, and also so we can afford to do some of these projects even more so than we can now. Like that pond, that one's gonna be an expensive one, and I'm guessing that's one you're gonna wanna see. So again, don't forget to hit subscribe. Words are hard. That ends today's video, you guys. We're gonna end it right here in our worst plant that we have this year, our Roselle hibiscus that got whipped around in Hurricane Ian. It was our only tragedy from that. As you can see, it got blown around a little bit. Right afterwards, the cold front came through and just killed off all the leaves, which actually works out okay because it's at the end of the season anyways. And so in the next video, we're gonna go ahead and rip all of this out and process all of the Roselle. So make sure you check in for the next video where we do all of that. It's about time to clean it up anyway, so everything is working out just fine on that end. I'm not really stressing about how it looks at the moment, but we do have a lot of stuff that we got to get cranking through in the next about week, maybe 2, so we might have quite a bit of videos coming. Anyways, we're looking forward to catching you guys next time. Hit that like button if you did enjoy today's video. Again, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn notifications on. We'll catch you next time. Molnar out. This is my favorite side of the house. I'm going to show you why. So on our property, we have 6 varieties of bananas, but on this row alone, we have 4 of those 6 right here. Now we just had a cold front came through, and so I can see how these bananas on the different variations handled the cold. Let me show you how they did. Back corner right here, we got 2 blue Javas that show absolutely no sign of cold damage on any of the leaves in this spot, doing absolutely fantastic. Double Mahoy, on the other hand, this one's doing pretty good, but you can see a little bit of stuff popping up here. Same with the truly tiny bananas. They're getting a little bit, those are mixed in. This is another double Mahoy, so you can see a little bit of cold damage there. More damage on the double Mahoy. This is a truly tiny. It's got some cold damage on it. It's almost ready to fruit though. So you can see, following down here to the other variety, this is the Namois, and it has absolutely no cold damage on it as far as I can see. I mean, it's taller than I am because I'm vertically challenged, but still on the lower ones, none. So that's a good way to find out that the Namois and the blue Java are much more cold hardy than any other type of Cavendish variation that we have on the property. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.